All right, you bunch of yahoos, strap yourselves in for another episode of Dan and Don's Toxic Masculinity.
In other words, shut up, sit up, and pay attention.
Yeah, I wrote 2 books before this
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
that were basically about the 2 years I spent in special projects. And then we came down for do a project for Cameroon in West Africa. And the day I got here, it was like 2 days later, 3 days later, we leased an apartment because the thing was we were leasing them 6 737-400s.
Yeah.
And they were doing all the livery and everything out at Marana and C-check equipment. And it just, St. Patty's Day, 8 o'clock at night, they came in and shut everything down, and we were stuck in quarantine for 2.5 months.
Holy shit.
So we wrote this book in 67 days. We were sitting there going, well, we watched everything on Netflix.
Right.
What do we do now? Write a book.
Which one? Well, okay, what was the name of the book at that time? This one right here? Or
This one here,
Okay.
Vagabonds.
Okay, Vagabonds, because I know that you said you'd written a few books before that, and I had those names.
Right. The 2 books before that were, first one was called We Few,
Okay.
and the second one was Whispers in the Tall Grass. And they were about the 2 years I spent in special projects running deep penetration reconnaissance
Where at?
in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Vietnam, Laos, and the northern targets. A long time ago.
I'm gonna irritate the shit out of you because that stroke I had. So sometimes my memory will go this long, sometimes it'll go this long, and so then.
Not a problem. He's 75. I'm 74.
Right. We requested
we
the
got
same
the same
thing and not even know it.
We didn't even need a stroke to get there.
Yeah.
Did it on their own.
You're lucky. You're lucky. Shit. You waited.
Well, one whole chapter in this book is basically about me being sick.
Yeah. Fuck. Yeah, you got the squirts down there.
I know. I was in Burma advising the Karen National Liberation Army, which is one of the ethnic freedom fighter groups in Burma.
Yeah.
It's the same group that supposedly rescued Stallone at the end of the 4th Rambo movie.
Oh yeah.
Only I was with the real guys. And I got dengue fever for the second time, and I was really sick. My temperature was about 106, and I was delirious, and I got out of my little bamboo hut to pee and walked off a 100-foot cliff.
Holy shit.
Who found you then?
The Karen.
The Karen, they heard all the noise
Karen
of me
thought
because
there
I was
a white
tumbling through the
orangutan
brush.
laying in the wire down below.
I was tumbling through because there was vegetation on the side of the cliff. It's jungle. And I was falling and rolling, and I hit a tree, broke my left collarbone. Then I went through some other kind of foliage and put 3 huge gashes from my knee all the way up to my hip. And I finally got tangled up in the foliage and was hanging upside down about 40 feet down from the lip. And the Karen heard the commotion, thought the Burmese army might be coming up, and ran to the lip, all locked and loaded, ready to repel boarders. And I'm hanging upside down there and going,
I'm with you guys.
So they dragged me up. It took 4 of them to drag me back up. And they laid me out on a tarp. And the only medical supply they had was a gallon jug of denatured alcohol. So they wet down some towels and swabbed me off, which immediately put me into shock because I had 106-degree fever.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually I got into a boat and went downriver. They threw me into a pickup truck, drove me to Chiang Mai, Thailand, and I spent a month in and out of the hospital in Chiang Mai. Yeah. It's in there.
Yeah.
We sent them for rubies, and they came back with rabies.
So this was the first book, Vagabonds? Was that? You said it was the first.
This is the first book we wrote together.
That we,
Okay.
Yeah, collaborated on.
Can we go back in time? How old were you gentlemen at that time in Vietnam?
How old were we when?
How old were? How old were you at that time?
My first trip to Vietnam, I was like 18, 19. And the trip that I wrote the 2 books about, I was 23.
But still, I mean, can you imagine any of these young millennials making some of these trips right now? I mean, it's a whole different.
The millennials can't even make up their mind about which ice cream without crying.
They can't even decide which sex they are.
Yeah. All right. What color
Now,
phone?
Generation X, there's a lot of hope for them. Generation X which is his son and my son's generation.
It's me.
They still have some balls.
Right, that's me.
But the new crowd, they need some stiffening up.
Yeah.
How old are you, Don?
56, sir.
Okay. Yeah, you are a youngster.
He's a Generation X.
Yeah.
63.
63. Okay,
Yep.
you're almost an adult now.
Almost an adult. Almost.
I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to make it or not.
You'll make it.
Because the guy I know who's the most terrifying fighter when it comes to just like a street fight is 85, and he
Fred.
still terrifies me.
Fred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His name's Fred Brewster.
The only thing missing are the 2 copper lugs sticking out of his mouth. He does. He looks just like Frankenstein.
How big is he?
He's big.
6'5", 260.
What, at 83 years old?
And if he'd never taken any martial arts, he still would have been bad.
Yeah.
But as it is, he's like a 9th degree black belt.
Wow, what style?
Kempo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We've had a lot of interesting times with
He used
Freddie.
to take me to parties at the house of a guy that was involved very heavily in mixed martial arts, King of the Cage and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Dominic, something started with an R. He had a house in Huntington Beach that looked like the Hogwarts Academy in the Harry Potter's movies.
Yeah.
Gray stone with gargoyles and all that stuff. Yeah, we used to go over there. There was always all kinds of mixed martial arts UFC guys there. I didn't, they were just. Huntington Beach was a big center.
Right.
For
Wasn't Rusty Coombs involved in that crowd?
Rusty just beat people up in bars.
You know who he's talking about? Dominic.
Well, again, I mean, just for the area they talk about, Huntington Beach, that was the stopping grounds of both for Tank Abbott and for
Tito.
Tito Ortiz. So
Yeah.
I know what they'll
He said Tom.
I think
Dominic
Fred was one of Tito Ortiz's instructors at one point.
Really?
Yeah. He was a mere lad of 68 or something. Well, I was 47 when the first UFC match was held. So Fred's 10 years older than me, so he was 57. So we didn't quite make the curve for that. Thank God, because I would have been just stupid enough to try my hand at something like that and gotten myself killed.
We've had a lot of discussions about that, about people movie stars and other people who, they didn't offer me enough money to do it, blah, 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 well, bullshit. If you're a competitor, you're a competitor.
Get people like that little midget De Niro.
Yeah, right.
Played all these bad guys, and he thinks he's one.
Oh, what a fucking asshole.
Oh, him and Boss from New Jersey. I'd like to be alone in a room with both of them.
Oh,
In
no,
fact, I'll be
that guy.
blindfolded, and you can tie my foot to my forehead.
You're pretty flexible. I'm not that flexible.
I am. I've been married 3 times.
I can't even see my foot.
How many page book is it? I did not get a chance. I saw the front cover.
80 or 212 or something like that.
It's 200 and something. I don't know. Look at it. They're all numbered,
Yeah, just kind of curious.
except that one.
We'll see how many months it's going to take you to read. Or
Is it pictured? Is there pictures in the book?
228.
228.
And you guys, you said you wrote it in 6 weeks?
And
Something
what-
like that?
67 days.
Or
Start to finish.
67 days.
Well, but what it is all the stories in the book we've been telling in bars for years. And people always say, oh, wow, you guys ought to write a book.
Yeah, okay.
You ought to write those down.
I had nothing else to do, so he said, let's,
Nothing else to do. So we wrote down all of our bar stories.
Not all of them.
Not all
Well,
of them.
yeah,
some of them are
there's
not
Some
fit for
might need to be.
publication.
There's more left out than there is included in that book. And sometimes you have to kind of read between the lines.
Like the first time we met Liz Taylor. He's out in the limo. I had to go inside. I knew Moshe a little better than he did. He says, what's his name? Roddy McDowell.
Roddy McDowell.
Roddy McDowell's sitting with her, and she's a very gracious lady. So I'm in there, and I'm about half tanked. And I go
Which is
inside.
pretty much all the time.
And he keeps ragging me. He says, get her autograph. I want her autograph. I need her autograph. I drummed into my head. We get there, and she goes, it's Moshe's going to lead me out. And he says, introduces me, and I'd say hi. He says, is there anything I can do for you? I said, well, my partner has seen every one of your movies, at least 6 times in that. Could you possibly do an autograph for him? She said, well, I don't have anything that I could write on. I said, what about your underwear? My feet never touched the floor all the way to the doorway. And it gets me outside. She goes, why would you say something like that? I don't know. It seemed like the time at the moment. That's probably why we lost all that money.
Yeah.
Inappropriate behavior.
Yeah, things like that are not career enhancing.
No.
But they make good stories in the book, so hopefully it'll all come back around and the book will make it all right. One of the chapters in the book is about us being Elizabeth Taylor's bodyguard for a brief stint.
Ooh, how was that?
It was interesting.
Well,
Hey, how old was she?
Oh, this was she was in her late 50s.
Oh.
Yeah, this was. It was when she might have been a little younger than that, but so were we.
Right.
Well, it was when she introduced her first perfume. Elizabeth,
Passion.
we did the security at the release parties for Elizabeth Taylor's Passion perfume.
It must have been a dangerous
it was the
situation.
guy who was her chief of security was a guy named Moshe Alon, who was an Israeli.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that we'd met during the '84 Olympics, and then he parlayed that into bodyguard to the stars and all that. And he had all these Israelis that worked for him, and every one of them I was in the Mossad.
Right.
Yeah, sure you were. Okay. You were a clerk in an airborne battalion. Yeah. If that's the Mossad this week, okay. So he has us come up to help supervise the crew that's there. So Jeff and I are floaters. We're wandering around, going in and out, and, making sure all the guards are where they're supposed to be, keeping the paparazzi back. And it was at the guy's house who owned Herbalife.
Herbalife.
Yeah. And they had a casino in the bottom floor of the guest quarters or whatever it was out there with, the one-armed bandits and all that. Yeah. And there was a bathroom, big thing that was reserved for Miss Taylor, and nobody was supposed to be using it. So Miller and I are kind of roaming around the crowd, and we set that up as our pivot base to come back. And Zsa Gabor falls in love with him.
All right.
She's like, oh, my beautiful Captain Nemo. I started calling the John the Nautilus after a while, because he'd pop in there to hide from her. And Jose.
Yeah, something like that.
With his little straw hat and his pigtail. He came down to go use the bathroom, and Miller tells him, this is reserved for Miss Taylor. Well, I'm so-and-so. So
Great.
well, I'm going to go inside, and he tossed him into the pool with all the imported frogs and the lily pads. And when he surfaced, his hat was gone, and so was his hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll never work in Hollywood again. Hurt my feelings.
Yeah. I was only temporary anyways.
There was when they were taking her out, there was a member of the Light and the Sneakers crowd who had snuck into the bathroom. And then finally, he took all his clothes off except a pair of black dress socks. And as the Praetorian guard of Israelis are taking her out to the car and that, he pops up amongst the one-armed bandits and going, oh, Miss Taylor, I've seen all your films. I love it so much. And they swarmed him. Got him on the floor, beating on him. And going, oh, I love this job. I love it. So, that was our Hollywood
Yeah, but
experience.
try following her around Neiman Marcus watching her try on shoes for 3 or 4 straight hours.
Who?
Elizabeth.
Oh, wow.
And the glamour of bodyguard work fades really
Yeah.
quickly. Especially when she was trying on a pair of just plain black pumps. Just that they sell in every shoe store in the world. Right? And I'm looking at the price, and they're like $350, and this is in like 1983, right? When $350 could actually buy something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I said, Miss Taylor, you can get these at any J.C. Penney's for $35, and she grabs my cheek and gives me a pinch and little. Oh, like you're so cute.
Shut up,
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah. Like she'll never pay that kind of price for anything. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
of course not. It's
Peter Falk showed up at this party with a woman, absolutely gorgeous, that her dress was being held up by her nipples.
Oh.
And she was walking around.
I hate that when that happens.
And he's sitting there, he's going, I could rob everybody in this place who wouldn't even know it.
Yeah.
Nobody's watching me. Okay, man. Yeah.
Wow.
She was spectacular.
Yeah.
That was our one and only venture into being bodyguards for the stars. Lasted about 4 months?
Yeah, but that,
Something like
the woman that was the guy that made all the toys for McDonald's,
Yeah.
she was a piece of work. You heard the term dumb blonde?
Of course.
This one, she lent credence to all of that. She had 2 Rottweilers in the house that were like vicious, and she'd always forget to call the front gate where the guard was and tell him, hey, I'm letting the dogs out. So the 3 or 4 guys got bit. So I show up for work one day, and I had some lobster sandwiches, lobster salad, and put them in a paper bag, stuck them on the chair that's sitting outside the thing there, and there's the old carriage house is where the garage is with the French doors and that. I go in there to activate the alarms and that. And I turn around, and two Rottweilers are chewing my food up, chewing it up, sitting around. And I walked over to the door, and I'm going, you son of bitches. And they came over to the door, and they're like growling at me. I said, okay, big dog. So I opened a door a crack and pissed on their faces. Alpha dog shit, right? Next thing you know, they're at my feet. One of them's in my lap. Moshe shows up to check on me. He goes, oh, you've tamed the dogs. And he stepped inside the door, and they chewed the whole ass end out of his suit pants.
Oh.
Well, they were all right for me, Moshe, but they're not quite ready for you.
Yeah. You got to do something manly.
I actually got arrested. Well, not arrested. I got stopped in Palm Desert. I used to run 3 miles every morning. And I'm
It
running
was
up the
obviously a
road.
long
I
time
used
ago.
to, too.
Yeah. I'm running up the road, and this woman's out there in her chinos or high heels, clipping along like Peg Bundy and that, and got this Shar-Pei. And the Shar-Pei's not on a leash. It sees me, triggers its prey response, runs up, nips me on the back of the leg. I snatched the dog, bit it as hard as I could behind its ear, yelps, down, rolls over on his stomach. We're fine, right?
Right.
She calls the cops.
Of course.
Cops show up. Young patrolman comes up, and a dog's still running around loose. It's $270 fine being off the leash, right? And I'm wiping my leg off, and the dog's right there, and she's on the phone. He grabbed Fifi, and he just attacked her for no reason whatsoever. The guy took her story, and he came over to me. He goes, so what happened? Well, running, and got the dog off the leash, as you can see, and triggered his prey response, and just ran up and bit me. He goes, did you bite the dog? I said, yeah. Why did you bite the dog? It's an alpha male thing.
I just told you the dog bit me.
And he goes, oh. So he goes back over, and he tells the broad, he says, he wrote her a ticket for $274. And he tells her, you should hope that this guy doesn't sue you, because that dog is off the leash in that. And after that, every time the cops would go by, they'd see me on the road, they'd go, hey, woof. Don't bite the coyotes. They got rabies.
Thank you for watching another episode of Dan and Don's Toxic Masculinity. You better like, subscribe, and share, or I'm going to come to your house.